Hello, last video we looked at running a local llama on an old server, and at the end of the video I mentioned about some of the ethics around using AI and the various issues you can have with plagiarism and the whole idea of originality. And I kind of just want to go over what I think you should do when using AI and how you should use it responsibly and ethically so you don't get yourself in trouble or perhaps be accused of plagiarism and such. Let's get to it. So I really say there's two categories when it comes to generally copyright and the laws around AI. One is the output, i.e. what the users ask the AI to do and create and how they're using it. And then two, it's the company that made the AI and how they trained it. So as of recently, September 27th, Times sues OpenAI and Microsoft for AI use of copyright work. And this is going to be that it's now competed to chatbots that can compete with them. And generally the idea is that it's trained on their articles really without their permission, and this all comes into debate whether it is copyright or not. So you can just scroll down, and in the article it says here, articles published by Times were used to then train the data model to then create, meaning you could just ask the AI saying, hey, write me an article in this, even in the style of the timescale, or even a possible journalist if it picked up on that, to then create sort of you plagiarize content essentially. And in an earlier case, we saw that judge actually tears down AI artist copyright lawsuit against Midjourney. This was generally because the artwork, this was specifically with an output. They tried to sue it based on Midjourney, but really the issue with this art lawsuit was that they actually hadn't copyrighted their own work, even though by definition copyright work is anything that's been made. But because they hadn't officially declared it to the government, they couldn't actually sue them. And it was like, it's not really lawsuit. If we scroll here, it says the artist said in the January complaint that Stability used billions of images scraped from the internet, including theirs, without permission to teach Stable Diffusion to create its own images. Now, this comes quite a complicated matter because you could say that this goes under fair use. I.e., if I was to draw something, I could also go on the internet, get their images, use them as reference, and create a mixture of their styles. Would that be copyright infringement? Would that be fairly original work? If you ask an AI to create a Van Gogh style art, but this time add a unique creature or entity, could that be classified as original work and therefore not copyright? Which is perhaps why this lawsuit was dropped at the time. But the core complaint, as I state earlier, the core claim is still there that, if they were trained or not. So when it comes to you asking AI to generate the work, here's, I would say, a general good consensus is any work that's produced by AI is not copyrightable, as it wasn't made by a human. It was an algorithm that essentially created it. I would even argue the AI is copyrighted to whoever made the AI data set, in fact, as they put in the original work rather than you are just kind of using it, you're just typing in. So I'd say it'd go to them. But obviously laws haven't been updated yet, and I imagine in the future they will be, which we'll get onto later about the possible future of AI. So on law by this website, the UK law, copyright law traditionally requires a human author to establish ownership of a copyrighted work. Asking the AI doesn't really count for that. But if you were to get an AI piece, then touch it up and make changes, then that could be considered copyright. Depends on how much of a change you made to it. First thing we should go over is plagiarism. If any of you are on YouTube much, will know of Hbomberguy's video on plagiarism, which is a 4-hour long video of going over large content creators that have essentially just stolen work and claimed it as really their own and monetized it. It's not even the first time he's done this. As you can see, 6 years ago he has covered plagiarism on YouTube as well. And AI is more important than ever with plagiarism. He in fact goes over AI at the end of the video in its more conclusion area about predictive text that's seen here and how ChatGPT are charging for it, and so it comes into question. So Wikipedia's definition is good. It's plagiarism is the fraudulent expression of another person's language, thoughts, ideas, or expressions as one's own original work. And this goes beyond just referencing. You need to reference it properly, and if you work in a school or institution, they will have guidelines on how you should properly reference, such as the Harvard referencing system, which is what I used when I was at university, and they had a booklet on how you can reference videos, various work properly, so you wouldn't be caught for plagiarism or such. So it can be misleading if you don't reference properly. So here I have a script that I use that removes the silent parts of a video. So if I'm not saying anything, it will speed up the video to get skipped past it. Now I could say in like a video, for example, it's like I made a script that removes silent parts of the video. While it's true, I didn't create a package which uses the silence video. So I'm using a package for Unsilence, and this refers to this GitHub project that removes the silent parts. It would be pretty disingenuous of me to title the video that. I perhaps wouldn't get plagiarism if I talked about it in a video saying, hey, I use this package to then create this little script. It's important to note that if I didn't include that, it would come off as I actually wrote the whole functions, all that removes the silent, but the most important part of it, and it would be disingenuous of me. Now, when it comes to AI and referencing, you haven't really got anyone to reference because AI is not a person you can really reference. But instead, you should acknowledge if AI has been used. In my first video, Raylib Anti, a classic game revamped, I used AI to create the anti to image here. Now I did touch it up so it makes it more original to mine, but I specifically state that I used DALL-E 2 to create examples, and one that I chose, and one that I decided to edit to make it, touch up the errors that AI produces. This, comes off as genuine. I've said that, yep, I used AI in the work, and I've touched up to add my own. It makes it, I'm not misleading the user, the viewer, that I made this work, right? Because the majority of it was produced by the AI. Now, you don't need to do this every time. Like in this example here, I just asked at one point, in the React type to create a table. Very simple. And if I would add this to my code, I'll probably, I wouldn't really need to declare that I AI generated if it's only a very small part. So it's only a very few lines. It's something that's quite generic, something you could find on Stack Overflow or W3 Schools as an example. And so if this was, if you're getting something that's 5 lines from AI and putting it into a 500 line project or larger, AI didn't really create it. You only use a very small snippet, and this would be arguably under fair use. The AI did not create the application, you created the application, you just took a small snippet for your own reference, create a much bigger project. Taking a much larger chunk, so if AI developed the majority of it or had a big influence, it's probably a good idea to declare, yep, AI helped me create this. In terms of programming, programming is often very shared. We share it with open source software, Stack Overflow, people openly share their ideas, and it is generally considered more accepted to take other people's codes and put it in your own project without any real concern. And there is a degree of, well, it's, there's mathematics, only a certain amount of ways you can do it originally, especially with something like creating a table. If you don't use AI responsibly and ignore these rules, you will find yourself in trouble, especially if you're at an institution and a student, as you'll find that you'll be getting a nice grade 0 and having to resit it, or even being kicked out of the university, depending on what their rules are. This person was lucky and they reversed it and they gave them the normal grade. They did admit they used AI, and I assume that because they were genuine and that the original work that they created was, majority of it was original. The part they didn't do is that they asked the AI to analyze the text, some of the text, and then draw conclusions from it. But all the reference that they had was original. So it's pretty mild compared to others. AI is a tool, should be used in assisting. It shouldn't be used in creating and copying work. Good for getting conceptual ideas, getting small snippets of a much larger project. Really good at reading formulas and explaining them to you. That's how you should use AI. You shouldn't tell AI, hey, summarize this paper for me, summarize this thing for me, and then copy that. You should ask them to summarize it, read it, and put in your own words, and so you understand it yourself. Use it as a tool to learn rather than to copy. You'll feel well more rewarded. You won't feel guilty. So the future of AI will first start with YouTube, and in November the 14th, they uploaded an article about policy changes that relates to it. Now they do discuss that AI has the potential of unlock creativity, so people who are a bit limited, such as they're great at storytelling, but maybe they're not great at visual art, So, AI can help generate art to help visualize their story. However, it's important that we disclose that information, which is the main focus of this article. They should know AI's powerful new forms of storytelling can also be used to generate content that has potential to mislead viewers, particularly if they're unaware that the video has been altered or synthetically created. AI is, getting significantly better. We used to laugh at that they struggle to generate hands. This is becoming less so, and so it's important that we be able to disclose that information to show that we did not make this, and AI made this. Again, it goes back to plagiarism, and claiming it as our own, even if it was AI generated. So it will say in the image as an example here, altered synthetic content. You also express how it's important when it goes around sensitive topics. And this has been a big problem with YouTube for a very long time when it comes to stuff such as the diseases, such as the COVID pandemic, where you could spread misinformation. You should always disclose if you've used AI. Now, it's probably in the case of how much of it's used. I would say, let's say you use AI generated images as like stock photos and stuff. I would disclose that AI's been using it in the description somewhere. Say that this is, AI was using this video. If you're using like AI voices, I think there again you should disclose it. But if you're only using it for small segments, like with programming I use a small segment in a big larger project, you wouldn't really need to declare it. Now, when you don't disclose AI and you let your platform kind of remember, you get some just really bad content. Now, I saved this Twitter post because it kind of shows you the issue that currently Twitter/X has, and it was just supposed saying the only known Nintendo PlayStation prototype, which sold for $360,000 in 2020. Yeah, kind of cool. And if you scroll down, you have all these what appeared to be AI generated posts. You don't actually see any genuine talk by other people. And it keeps going, and it keeps going, because these AI accounts are just picking up on tag words and then using AI to then generate a response to reply to. And you can see they're all blue check mark because Elon Musk removed the verify tag, added the blue check, and then you could earn ad revenue through it. So they're just trying to engagement farm. So this is the issue with when you let it run rampant. You can see it's just absolute rubbish. Just another note of these replies is that they don't properly reference them. Is this your video of your efficient Nintendo setup, or have you just taken this from someone else's account and just take it as your own? Again, back to plagiarism. Did you record this video? Who is this video from? Does it link back to anything? Is this your photo? Again, people just taking as things. Kid gets Nintendo 64 for Christmas. Yeah, who? This one says it's from historic vids. Is this an original video from a historic vids? Did they own this? And this is just straight up plagiarism because it's just straight up copying the video and not referencing it back. And obviously, it was picked up. The replies to this is making me lose my effing mind. Am I the only one seeing this? So as it's now 2024, the laws are changing as well. They're coming into effect eventually. EU and both the UK are acting on it. And in this article from Skadden, it's talking about increased copyright infringement, cybersecurity risks such as mimicking other people. There was an incident with, I believe it was Joe Rogan, where his voice was trained to then sell some sort of supplement to make it sound like it was him, right, to make it seem more genuine. It's like, oh, it's the real Joe Rogan selling it, and when it wasn't, obviously that would be copyright, and that would, that is dangerous. AI employment decisions, obviously there is a fear that our work will be replaced by AI and will be left redundant. The risks for that are huge, obviously. And we'll see an increase in AI integrated into the work. I believe Square Enix did their yearly post saying they're going to heavily push AI, which I'm sure probably based on the history won't go well like their NFTs, where they're just kind of pushing it without really thinking about it. So the European Union discussed it to go through final step before it becomes a law, and it's the whole idea that AI systems in the EU market will take a risk-gated approach to classifying regulation systems based on their risk levels. The UK have been talking to AI companies and leaders to express, how can they do regulation before they push it, and these could have huge effects, especially when it comes to the copyright incident. We've already seen stuff like ChatGPT and other AI models be censored. You can't tell it to create a recreational drug like you used to when you can't ask it, hey, make this image where it does this illegal activity. They'll say, no, I won't do that. And now with this, it could severely affect what the output is. It could be like, no, I can't generate that because this is copyrighted content, and you could be severely limited on what you can and can't make. There are open models available that are uncensored, and well, it'll be very good luck to the AI lawmakers that try and get them, because they're open. They're going to be, anyone can take it and download it and store it and then just redistribute it. This could have effect on the way subscription services like ChatGPT-4 go. If it is copyright, then can they really sell ChatGPT-4? Maybe not, because it's you're selling someone else's work. So you do want to be careful when it comes to this. Don't become reliant on AI, as your business or whatever could just collapse and be like, I don't have access to this service anymore. Previously, AI, when it first dawned, you could just tell it to do anything. Now you can't tell it to do anything. If you're paying for this service that then changes and no longer works for your business, you're going to have huge problems. This is what happened with that AI dating site where they completely changed the rules. So a few months back, about half a year ago, if you remember, a service called Replika AI is where you could create your flirtatious partner, your lover, you could say, and you could do some, risque things. And this is what they were heavily advertising at the side, that you could do all this stuff in the app, and then they removed it. You couldn't do that anymore. So all this stuff they would advise to selling you, so this was essentially misleading. They removed it, and people on Reddit were very mad. People who used it were not pleased, because something they were sold for, you could no longer do. Now apparently they've started restoring that feature, but you can see here that one day it was just the ability to do erotic roleplay was removed. And so this is sort of not the greatest example, but this is an example of a change that could happen, that could completely change what you wanted to do or what you wanted to be received as a service. The service that people bought could no longer work, and that they were now out of anything really. This could happen with anything like ChatGPT. You're using it heavily into your business, and then that service is changed or gone. You are possibly screwed really. So you don't want to be too reliant on these things. You still use the original systems and use it as a companion, not as a replacement. I would like to add it on a happy note. In the last video, we had a lot of fun of incrementing a local llama and AI into our old server. While it obviously wasn't very effective, it was just fun to try out, and that's you should have fun with AI. You can mess around with AI and make silly stories, as long as you're not selling it or anything, and it's okay to use it. You be creative with it and enjoy it. Don't let other people put you down if they're angry that you did use AI. As long as it was in a genuine and safe way, I don't really see a problem with it. So what's your story of AI? Are you into it? Are you for or against it? And what's your opinions if you have any other insights that are useful for people who maybe are worried about getting caught, or they think that they shouldn't use it? Please comment down below, and please like and subscribe for more computer science related and programming related work. Anyway, see ya.